Tell us a little bit more about that challenge of having groups that are operating at a church, but not necessarily having like the stage presence or getting announced. Because I know you shared with me, Stuart, like a while ago, hey, for the first time from the stage, we're getting an announcement. This is so exciting. But talk a little bit more about the challenge when you don't have maybe leadership at the top that's, blowing the trumpet for groups, if you will. How have you addressed that challenge, and what have you seen to be successful when that wasn't happening?
Uh, I would say the most success we had was just through people sharing their own story and then what Christ had done through their story. And in 2020, we got an event. We snuck it in right before COVID. And we had a men's morning, like so 120 guys came, and I just shared my testimony and had that opportunity. And then we talked about seven pillars and the groups, and that gave a lot of guys freedom um, to feel safety of sharing their story, and then also being like this is a safe topic to talk about, even if it's not yours. I just had coffee with a dad the other day, so his son they found pornography, and so that talk from 2020 made him remember, hey, and I got a text and said, hey, can we grab coffee? And so just the willingness to share your story just opens up doors within the church.
Yeah, I also had a similar moment. It's a year and a half ago, potentially. I'm leading worship, and I, it's in the when you're in the back of the room and you're listening to, you're listening to the sermon and you're feeling this conviction, your heart starts pounding. You're like, no, Lord, like I'm not sharing that. And then you're like, no, yeah, you are. So I go up, I share about my own struggle about being addicted to pornography when I was younger, and I think that has been I just wouldn't underestimate I can't underestimate the impact that that had, because, like, I've had conversations and originate from that. I've had people that probably still remember me saying that, because that's such a big thing. I think people will remember that, and that's been, yeah, just kind of an example from where I've been at as well, sharing your story.
I think so many churches feel like they have to have, and Nick and I have been pastors, and there's this pressure that, oh, I have to it has to be a sermon series and it has to be so well thought out and the graphics have to be perfect and we have to do all this research. It's like, well, we don't really have time to do all that. So let's just, not talk about it. But what you guys are saying is it's just sharing your story. Just getting someone who has a little bit of traction, who, is pursuing resources that are helping, and they're just opening up and sharing. And that is something I think any church can do. You can have someone get on stage and share for 90 seconds, and that 90
Yeah,
seconds can open a door for so many people to step into their own journey.
yeah.
Yeah, well, and what I've seen in so many people's stories, I mean, yeah, if your church is wholly embracing groups and they're announcing them from stage and it's prevalent on the website, that's wonderful.
Great. Yeah.
But even in those cases, what I would remind listeners is that typically for someone to take that step to actually admit, I need a group, I'd like to talk to someone, I'm looking for help, it almost always involves someone else encourage them, hey, I did this group, or this worked in my life. Because in this area where there are so many unknowns, there's so much fear associated with, like you said, Stuart, I'm going to go talk to someone and I'm just going to get shamed or blacklisted for my problems. And even if I'm hearing, oh, there's these groups, it often takes that personal touch of someone saying, I've been where you are. I took that step. It's made a difference for me. And so even if you're not getting the stage announcements, you have that ability. It doesn't have to be all or none. You can really impact people by saying, could I share what happened in my story, what happened for my wife and I? And very often that will be the conversation, not the slick promotion or the video. Those things can help, but it will often be the personal connection that is what gets someone into group, or that ends up having them call our office looking for counseling, and we'll ask, why did you call on the counseling intake? And it's like, someone I know, a friend, a family member told me about what they experienced, and so I'm going to try it out. So yeah, that sharing of your story is very, very powerful.
I would just add some of the hurdles that we've also had, which others, just to say we're right there with you. We launched Unraveled, and then we launched Hope for Men. Unraveled was 2 years ago, and then Hope for Men was in the past year. Um, And we really grappled with that because Seven Pillars was more established. Betrayal Beyond was more established. We had people who had been through the material. Unraveled was we collected enough stories and then just said, okay, can we form a group? And we're just going to walk you through that group. And so just keeping in contact with the leader when they had questions, like especially like faster scale, double bind, just being available to answer those questions. And then Hope for Men, same thing. It was me just going through with the leader of the group, and we just started chapter by chapter. We started with Hope for Men, and we got to about chapter 12, and then had a recommendation, just use the new Betrayal and Beyond material. And we ended up, the guys are doing that, and they're loving it, and they're writing feedback to send to you guys for the creation of a workbook for men when it comes to Betrayal and Beyond. So those are two hurdles, and just amazing to see God work through that.
Yeah. It's cool. It's cool to hear, because I feel like you guys aren't sitting on your hands. Like, you're just trying it, you're getting in there, and it's not going to be, because I know there's a pressure there in ministry for things to be like clean and crisp and go smoothly. And like, anybody who's been in ministry knows that's not how it goes. Like, it's messy and it's complicated. And so good for you guys doing that. That is definitely amazing.